Hi everyone, today we are talking about basics of functions and their graphs. So we're going to go over some vocabulary terms so you can pause the video to write down the definitions. So a relation is any set of ordered pairs, and it doesn't necessarily have to be x, y ordered pairs, but for this class it will be. So the ordered pairs in this example are 1, 2, and those are just x, y coordinates. So these are all x, y coordinates. So your domain is the set of first numbers, or in this case, it's all of the x's in a relation. And the range is the set of second numbers, or in our case, it'll be all the y's in a relation. Now, a function is a relation where each input or x value has exactly one output or y value. And there are multiple ways to test if something is a function. So we can test graphically with the vertical line test. So when you do the vertical line test, you draw a vertical line on the graph and picture moving it left to right, and if it only crosses the graph at one point, it passes the vertical line test and it's a function. The other way is to solve a function for y and see if each input has exactly one output. So we're going to do that in the next two examples here. So we're going to solve this example for y. So let's subtract over the x squareds. So we get y equals 4 minus x squared. Now this is a function because for every x there's exactly one y. And I think it's easier to see an example to see a non-example. So this next one we'll see is not a function. We're going to go ahead and solve it for y. So we subtract over the x squared. And now we square root. So we get y equals plus or minus the square root of 4 minus x squared. Okay, so this plus or minus creates a situation where every x has two different y's, a plus or a minus. So whenever you solve for y and you get a plus or minus, it's not going to be a function. Another way to think about this problem is that this equation is the equation of a circle with a radius of 2. So a circle does not pass the vertical line test either. Okay? So if you solve and there's a plus or minus, it's not going to be a function. Next we have the vertical line test. So we just draw a vertical line on our function, picture moving it left to right. If it only crosses at one point, it is a function. So this one is a function. This next one is also a function. And the last one, when we draw a vertical line, it crosses at 2 points, so that one is not a function. Okay. Evaluate the function. So this is our function. F of negative 5 means, see how there's a negative 5 where there's an x in f of x? So this means that x equals negative 5. So we're going to substitute in negative 5 everywhere we see an x in this function. So negative 5 squared minus 2 times negative 5 plus 7, so that turns into 25, plus 10 plus 7, which will give us 42. Okay, so f of negative 5 equals 42. Another way to think about this problem is if we graphed this function, a point on the graph will be negative 5, 42. Okay, in this next one, we're substituting in x plus 4 into the function. So everywhere we see an x, we're going to substitute in x plus 4. So we get x plus 4 squared minus 2 times x plus 4 plus 7. And now again, we have to remember to FOIL this x plus 4. So we get x squared plus 8x plus 16, and then we're going to distribute the negative 2, so minus 2x minus 8 plus 7. Combine all of our like terms, we get x squared plus 6x plus 15. Okay, and that's as far as we can simplify that one. All right, these next ones, we are going to be doing something similar, but we're doing it graphically. So f of -4, it's saying x equals -4. So we go to our graph where x is -4 and go down and see what the y value is. So the y value is -1, so f of -4 equals -1. F of 0, we go to where x equals 0 on the graph, y equals 4, so f of 0 equals 4. And for f of 3, we go over to 3, y equals 2 when x is 3, so f of 3 equals 2. Okay. This last one, we are finding domain and range of these graphs, and we are going to do it in interval notation. So remember, with interval notation, we use parentheses for numbers that are not included and square brackets for numbers that are included. So the domain is all of our x's. So when we're looking at this graph, we're kind of looking like left to right at all the possible values of our x's. So we start at -2, and that's a closed circle, so -2 is included. And then we go over to 1, which is also included. For the range, we're looking at our y values, so we're looking up and down, and we always start with the lowest value. So the lowest y value here is 0, and then we go up to 3, and again, those are both included. All right. This next one for domain, looking left to right, our lowest x value is -3, but it is not included, so we're going to do a parenthesis, and we go up to 2, which is included. Range, starting at the bottom, our lowest one is 1, and it's not included. And our highest one is 2, which is included. Okay, in this one, for domain, we're looking at our x's, or left to right. Our lowest possible x value, because of this arrow right here, is going to be -infinity. And so remember, we always do a parenthesis with infinity, and then we go all the way up to 4, which is included. And so for range, our lowest y value is 0. And then this arrow is going to the left, but it's also going up. So our highest y value is going to be infinity. All right, this next function is what's called a step function. So notice how it looks like steps. So for our domain, our lowest value is 1, and then we go from 1 to 2, and 2 is not included on the first step, but it is included on the second step. And then we go from 2 to 3, 3 is not included on the second step, but it is included on the third step, and then we go up to 4, and 4 is not included anywhere. So our domain is from 1 to 4. 1's included, 4 is not. Okay, our range. So now we're looking at the y values again. So the only y values we have is we have 1, but we don't have anything between 1 and 2. And then we have 2, but we don't have anything between 2 and 3, and then we have 3. So the way that we show that we want just 1, 2, and 3 is with set brackets. So these are the curly brackets, and so we just say 1, 2, and 3 are our y values. Okay, thank you so much for watching.